this coming full circle part 2 together. I know this would be the last time you guys get to work in your groups to do that. We're going to do it together. It'll be okay. All right, so last week, listen please. Last week we learned all about the unit circle in the first quadrant. And so if this angle is 30 degrees right here, do you guys, this is not working. Do you guys remember what that ordered pair is right at 30 degrees? Anybody?
1/2, 3 squared.
Yes, good job. Are you looking at the unit circle that was left on your desk?
Yeah.
All right. So square root of 3 is the x. 1/2 is the y.
Oh, okay.
If I'm going to have that 30-degree angle over here, this is basically getting reflected. So we're going the same distance on the x, but we're going in the opposite direction. So what should your x coordinate be? Negative, square root of 3 over 2. What about the y? Yes, we're still going up 1/2, so it's still positive 1/2. What about quadrant 3? Negative, negative.
And that's positive.
And quadrant 4 is positive, negative. Good job. All right, so 30 degrees less than 180 degrees is how many? Yes. 30 degrees more than 180 is? And 30 degrees less than 360?
330.
All right, so number 2 says to explain the relationship between the ordered pairs for 30 degrees, 150 degrees, 210 degrees, and 330 degrees. What do you think?
The x and y's are the same.
They're either the same or they're opposites. Very nice. All right, let's go ahead and do this for 45 degrees. Does anybody remember the ordered pair at 45 degrees?
They're the same.
They are the same.
2 squared. No.
Square root of 2.
Square root of 2 over 2, and then square root of 2 over 2.
Very nice. All right, and so the pattern is going to be the same. Bless you. In quadrant 2, the x is going to be negative. Bless you. In quadrant 3, they're both going to be negative. And then in quadrant 4, the y is going to be negative.
It's random.
Possibly. Lies. All right. So number 3 asks, in which quadrant is the sign of theta negative? So if we're using the unit circle to find the sign, are we using the x or the y?
From the sign, the y.
Sign is the y. And so the sign is going to be negative when y is negative. All right, so in those quadrants, what quadrants is the y negative?
The bottom 2. No.
Yeah, you're right. The quadrants go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be 3 and 4. And then the cosine is negative when the x is negative. So what quadrants is that?
The top 2.
2 and 3.
Good. Now quadrant 1, everything is positive. Sine, cosine, tangent, everything. All right, and then for 4a, we're going to list all the angles that are 30 degrees, not 30, just kidding, 60 degrees away from the x-axis. So obviously 60 degrees. What about this one that's 60 degrees less than 180?
120.
Mm-hmm. 60 degrees more than 180? Yes. 60 degrees less than 360. All right, let's do these ordered pairs. So for 60 degrees, the x is 1/2, and the y is the square root of 3 over 2. And then we apply all of our negatives where they need to be applied. Ah. Okay, and then you should notice the same thing we noticed earlier is that the ordered pairs are either the same or they are opposites. And then 5 asks if it's possible to evaluate trig functions at angles that are greater than 360 degrees. So like you could go all the way around and then some. Is that possible?
Yes.
Yeah.
It'd be a full circle and then another something.
Yeah. And so what you would do is just subtract multiples of 360 degrees if it's in degrees or 2 pi if it's in radians. We are going to do one of those today. All right. So on the back, we have just a few notes we're going to take. It's really actually kind of short today. So this box is going to basically be the same thing we've already written. And so if we're using the unit circle, and we want to find the sine of an angle, you're just going to use the y-coordinate. Right? If we're going to find the cosine of an angle, you're just going to use the x-coordinate. It's that simple. Just write it down. Now, tangent is not as simple. For the tangent, you're going to do y over x, or most of the time, those x's and y's are fractions. And a fraction over fraction can get kind of confusing. So the other thing you can do is do y times the reciprocal of x, which I was about to spell wrong. Now, if your x's and y's are zeros or ones, then just go ahead and do y over x. No big deal. But if they're fractions that have the 1/2 and square root of 3 over 2, I think it's easier to multiply by those two. All right, I'm going to give you guys something, and you're going to love it. No, I'm serious. This thing I'm giving you is super, super helpful. Landon already has one. I'm going to give you a unit circle that has everything you could ever want on it. My AP pre-calculus has to memorize this. 1,000 degrees.
Can Jake recite this to me, Patsy?
I don't think so. Okay, Landon, when you get the extra, just give it to Ryder. She already has one.
Yeah.
Give it to Ryder.
See, this chart reminds me of a bunch of like the imaginary odds. Imaginary numbers, those suck.
How?
You have these 0, 1, you have 0, -1. Just these ones over here, like you have I squared that equals 1.
Yeah.
What is it? Well, what gives you negative though? I
I
squared.
to the fourth. I squared is -1. I to the fourth is 1.
See exactly.
No, this is nothing like that, but that's okay. If it reminds you of it, it's fine. This is going to be great. So if we want to find the sine of something, we're just going to look at that circle and just give the x, or give the y, sorry. And then we're going to do the cosine, we're just going to give the x. It's going to be easy. Okay, so let's look at that unit circle. At what angles is the x, or are the x and the y coordinates on the unit circle exactly the same? Same sign, same number, everything. What'd you say? 45 degrees,
The fourths.
225.
and 225 degrees. Now it wants us to give us in degrees A and radians, so that's pi over 4 and 5 pi over 4. So if you look at those, for 45 degrees, they're both square root of 2 over 2. For 225, they're both negative square root of 2 over 2. So that means they have the same sign and the same cosine. All right, and then for number 2a, we're just going to find the cosine of 4 pi over 3. So we're just going to go to 4 pi over 3 on our unit circle. And for cosine, which one are we going to use, the x or the y?
Oh, you're using x.
The x, and what is it?
1, negative 1/2.
That's it. That's all you have to do. It's so easy. And then for b, we're going to go to 315 degrees, and we're finding the sine. So what is it going to be?
Negative 2
Square root of 2.
Yeah. We're just going to use the y coordinate there. All right, C is slightly more difficult because we're doing the tangent of 5 pi over 6. And so I'm going to choose to do it as the y times the reciprocal of x. So at 5 pi over 6, the y is 1/2. And then we're going to multiply that by the reciprocal of the x. So just flip the x coordinate over. What's going to happen to those 2's? They are. And so we're left with negative 1 over the square root of 3. Now back in algebra 2, it mattered that we had that square root in the denominator. It doesn't matter. We don't care. We're just going to leave it there. It's fine. All right. And then 7 pi. Is 7 pi on your unit circle? No. You go around a bunch of times to get to 7 pi. So what we're going to do, if you get something that's too big for your unit circle, you're just going to, if it's in radians, you're going to subtract 2 pi from it. And you get 5 pi. Is that on the unit circle? No. So we'll just subtract 2 pi again. And we get 3 pi. It's still not on the unit circle. So subtract again and get pi. Is pi on the unit circle?
Yeah.
So the cosine of 7 pi is the same as the cosine of pi. Because 7 pi is going all the way around 3 times and then going to pi and stopping. So what is the cosine of pi?
It'd be 0. No, it'd be the cosine. It's just
The x.
negative.
Negative 1. Okay. And then on this last one, I want you guys to label A, B, C, D. I want you to find each one of those values, and then you decide which one you think doesn't belong. And you can't decide. There's no argument for every one of them, but you decide which one you think doesn't belong. So jot down what all those equal, please.
Like which one doesn't match?
So which one do you think doesn't belong? Okay. They all could be the right answer. Does anyone think A doesn't belong? Can you think of a reason why A doesn't belong? Right. Only positive. If you're looking at what they're asking you to do instead of what you get, can you think of a reason why B wouldn't belong? Why? It's the only cosine. All Right, and again, if you're looking at what they're asking you to do and not what you get, can you think of what's C would have belonged?
It's the only degree.
Right. What about D? Can you think of why D doesn't belong? Right. Did most of you think it was D?
Yeah.
No, I figured. That's the one that jumps out at me, but it could be any. They're all right.